Okay. Well, listen, all masterclass attendees, you guys are truly in for a treat. I talk about, you guys have already heard me share how real estate investing, especially when you get into the higher echelons, now talking about new construction and development, is truly a team sport. There's no I in team, no man's an island. And so you're only as good as the team of professionals that you surround yourselves with and their combined experience and proficiency. And so I have my good friends over here from CGES Bailey, my good friend Carlos and Erica. You guys want to say hello?
Hey, hi.
Everybody, welcome to the masterclass.
Well, certainly. And they did me a huge favor. They're on vacation, sabbatical and whatnot, just getting some relaxation time. They also sponsored the event. So they were afforded us those tremendous tacos you guys have filled your bellies up with, and donuts and whatnot. So I wanted to make sure you guys got a chance to hear from them. So without further ado, Carlos, you and Erica kind of explained a little bit about your background and, what made you guys pursue what you're doing in the field now, and we'll go from there.
Well, ladies first.
Carlos, you start.
Ladies first.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Erica Bailey. I'm one half of the CGES Bailey planning team, co-founder and principal planner. A little bit about my background. I am a PVAMU grad, majoring in architecture, and I got my master's in community development. So I have a passion for people. I care. And then you throw the development component in real estate. I worked for the city of Houston in the planning department for about almost 4 years. I decided to leave because at the city in the planning department, you're privy to a lot of things and you see some things. And there was it got to the point to where you kind of realize that developers kind of run the city, and you're just seeing a lot of projects that come in where they don't necessarily have a passion for people like I do. So you see kind of displacement happening. You see everything is kind of just about the dollar is the bottom line. So I decided to leave, take some time for myself, and Carlos, he'll introduce himself as well. But we were friends when we were at the city, and we got to talking when we both left. And we're like, we always talked about doing something for the people, even when we were at the city, and how we can help the people. So we just got to talking, and CGES Bailey Planning was birthed. So here we are. Let's be here.
That's great.
Carlos, your microphone is off.
Thank you for that.
You may now approach the mic.
I'm ready. Just like Tyrone was saying, and it's all about teamwork. And when I met Erica a couple of years back, I just saw that we complemented each other professionally, and it was a match to where her strengths helped my weaknesses and the other way around. And that's where I saw where we had the potential to grow as a company, and that's kind of what sparked the idea. But my background's in urban planning. I graduated from Texas A&M University, from Manatee, and grew up here in Houston and the area. And we moved around. We moved to Katy, we moved to Midtown, Galleria area. So I've known pretty much all of Houston. And you can ask me. You can ask anybody who follows me on Instagram or social media. I'm always going out there trying to meet new neighbors, new food everywhere in Houston. I mean, we're the most diverse.
This is what he ain't gonna tell y'all. Carlos be going to the taco spots like I don't know the tacos. I'm the taco king. You know what I'm saying? But he trying to taco me. I'm the taco king. That's what. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay, I'm sorry.
We have to see about that.
We'll have that conversation offline.
We'll convene on that one at another day. But no.
That was sort of like my business perspective when I met Erica, and just knowing what I can do better, what I can do worse. How do we complement each other, and also how do we help Houston be a better place? But also pour out into Houston to be, not just Houston, but other places in Texas, and maybe on the other side of the coast, like California or New York, that we can expand our business. So if you guys are willing to work with us, we can do that. We do surveying, replats, land planning, and we're excited to be working with everybody.
Okay, so now let's jump right into that. So most of the people in the masterclass have some level of interest in new construction and or renovation, and part of what they will learn in the masterclass is a different perspective or mindset to have, because there are some projects that you can there are some projects that I'm doing that we've done with Brandon, where to the conventional eye, it was just a house on a large lot. But because of vision, I saw it as a house with a now smaller lot and backyard, which afforded us the ability to create more housing. And from an investment perspective, it created a greater return for the investor, but it also benefits the community because now there's going to be 6 new units of affordable housing on a piece of land that was originally just, you know, somebody's bigger backyard and side yard. So we were able to execute that project with you guys' expertise being engaged. You guys basically, lined you up with our clients and our partners, and you guys did a turnkey replat for us on that. So kind of explain, how do we go from having a lot and, you know, how do we know, first of all, how do we know what we can do with a lot or a piece of dirt, if you will?
Well, thankfully, the city of Houston, I don't want to say thankfully, I take that back, but the city of Houston does not have zoning. One of the only cities in the country that doesn't have zoning. So ultimately, you can propose any type of development as long as you're meeting Chapter 42. And in that, Chapter 42 is the development code that governs development in the city of Houston and surrounding area. I want to say it's pretty loose as far as the guidelines. You just have to know what's allowed. So you have some dirt, you have some land, no zoning unless there are deed restrictions in that neighborhood. So that is something you always want to keep in mind. But if there are no deed restrictions in that neighborhood on that specific property, you ultimately can develop anything you like within reason of Chapter 42.
Okay, so Chapter 42 in Texas notwithstanding, because there are people here from all over the country. So when we take that one step, and let's say we're in Baltimore, what is the process? So irrespective of where you are, what country-wise, let's just say, what is if I'm a builder and I'm looking at building or developing, like from your perspective, what are some things I should look for first to determine, to get to that point of knowing Chapter 42, zoning, not zoning, minimum lot size, things of that nature?
I would advise that if you're trying to buy land, either consult with a planning consultant or even with the city. A lot of the cities across the country, like even here, Baytown, Dallas, Austin, they do pre-development meetings. So before you buy the land, you could actually have a meeting with the city. They'll bring a planning department, engineering, flooding, all kinds of departments to give you that perspective of what you can build on there. And it'll either fit their development code or their zoning code, and they'll tell you how to fix those little issues that may arise. So that would be the number one advice that we would give you. Do pre-development meetings, do your research. If you don't feel 100% comfortable, you can always call us, you can call another company, but we're here available and happy to help you.
And so, one of the things I'm big on is asking quality conversation, asking quality questions and having quality conversations. And so our initial conversations transpired because you and I connected on Twitter, and we started having some conversations, and I'd ask some very pointed questions. Hey, can you do this? Or what happens here? Or if I had this piece of land and I wanted to turn it into this, what would happen? And so, to the degree that you could answer without, telling me everything in a DM or whatever the case. And that led to me calling you guys saying, hey, listen, here's an opportunity. And now, we've done one project and have more in the hopper to get done. One completed project, have some other stuff we're working on. But so I can attest to that fact that, talking to a competent professional who understands what it is you're trying to do, like yourselves. One thing I do want to ask, I know the city of Houston has that planner of the day kind of thing. Do other states have that as well, where there's one person that's on staff that just kind of handles questions and whatnot on a daily basis?
I can't say another state, but I do know that other cities, they do have a similar concept of planner of the day, yes.
Got you. Okay. So let's talk about subdividing lots in terms of, so we go and talk to the city, or we call the city or call someone like yourselves. And based on where I am in a country or city or whatnot, you guys at a certain level can give me some idea of how many units or houses or duplexes or whatever could go on this particular piece of property. Is that right?
Yes. So most cities or development codes like Chapter 42, they have either minimum density requirements or maximum density requirements. Here in Houston, they have density requirements of 27 dwelling units per acre. So you would divide how many acres your property is by the amount of lots or units you're proposing, and that's how you would decipher how many units per acre you'd be able to have. That's only
So
for
you said, but you said you could get up to 27 units on an acre.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Now,
Exactly.
guys,
Wow.
yeah, no, because
Yeah, that was done by the mayor a couple of years back to bring back more people back into the city. This was
Mhm.
right.
1999, I believe, or 2001, where they made that.
Gotcha.
So more people
Okay.
come back to the city, more revenue, more density, more businesses, and just a better Houston, I would say.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this, and we'll talk about the replat, and then we'll hop off here because I know you guys got to go. But I want to ask a question. So, like, one of the things I'm going to be sharing with the people in the master class is how to identify the areas that are going to be the next area. And you and I, we have trained eyes, so we see certain things really, and we know, okay, this is what's about to happen. But I'd like for you guys to speak from your perspective. What things do you see or recognize in an area? And that kind of gives you the hint that, you know what, this area is an area to pay attention to. It's going to be the next big area, things of that nature.
I'm going to speak from my perspective. Carlos is the city guy that goes around, can tell you everything about it. I'm a native, but I stay in my pocket.
Yeah,
But the city of Houston has a tool called the Houston Map Viewer, and that's how I'm able to kind of see the trends. Pretty much y'all developers kind of drive the trend in the areas of the city, but we can see kind of where a lot of platting activity is happening based on that GIS mapping system that the city provides. So I can kind of see the areas that are popping, that's popular, that, you know, have a lot of activity. So that's how I'm able to see it. And it is something that's public if anybody wants to log on and see the same thing that we're seeing. It's called Houston Map Viewer.
Great, thank you.
Then another thing
What you got to say about that, Los?
what I would suggest is following, you know, the development that occurs in not just mapping wise, but also in the news. You know, recently the city of Houston approved the Walkable Places Ordinance, which is creating a different set of ordinances and rules for different neighborhoods in Houston. In this case, would be Midtown area, Third Ward, and then the North Side. So those are the kind of things that drive development, I would say, as well. When there's a new set of rules that gives you more power to the land, more power of the land to developers and property owners, that actually drives up prices, and eventually it'll bring more businesses to the area. So just keeping up with that. If not, you can also follow our blog or any other blog out there that gives you that perspective of what's going on within the city that you're particularly looking into. There's also a lot of information online, just like Erica said, the Houston Map Viewer, and also just following up presentation that the city does or any other planning company does.
I would say
Okay,
the planning department is a really good resource. I'm sorry if I cut you off, but the planning department is a really good resource to just follow because they have different projects going on. Like Carlos mentioned, the Walkable Places just got passed, but then you have complete communities where now there are 10 communities that the mayor has appointed as, well, they're no longer pilot projects, but 10 communities in the city of Houston where eventually it's going to be thriving for developers and just for newcomers too, because that's where a lot of effort and time is being put right now. So that's another means for developers to know what's trending, what's happening, what areas are hot right now.
Okay, great. Let me ask one. I said that was my last question before we talk about this, but y'all keep saying some good stuff, and so I just got, you know, I don't think I've ever, no, I have. It was one time we talked and I had both y'all on the phone, so it's not often I can get y'all in the same room at the same time, so I got to take advantage of my opportunity while I got it here. Let me ask you this. So, like, what, you know, obviously you talked about the complete communities and the walkable places acts. What are some trends you seeing happening nationally from an urban development perspective that are exciting to you?
I would say more walkability. I think that's one of the main reasons that the city went after the Walkable Places Ordinance, and more community planning. So if you see the mayor of this case in Houston going after, let's see right now, A-Leaf, right now, super neighborhood, going out there for a complete plan. It would be great if you as an investor, as a developer, can be part of that process. So that way you see how the city and the public want to see that neighborhood develop into. Maybe they want to see more family or more single family. So that way it'll help you go after those tax credits that the city may offer. You can follow those community plans. So, just check in what we've been saying. Check in with the city. They're always pretty open to questions, and we're always here to support every single one of you if you want to come into the city of Houston and develop.
I would just add to that, a trend nationwide, I would say, is just like you said, is walkability. But I've actually heard, even when we started Complete Communities, there are a lot of cities doing something similar. And now that we've started, Mayor Turner has gotten a lot of feedback, and a lot of cities are starting to take note. A lot of states are starting to take note and doing some similar things, like with affordable housing, walkability, food deserts, so getting good grocery stores in some areas that need it. So I've seen that and I've heard that as well. So.
That's great. That's great. So without further ado, so let's talk about 9027 Brandon, which initially started out as a 50-foot wide by 200-foot deep lot. And then I called you guys and said, what's the maximum number of units I could put on this lot? How did you guys determine that?
Going back to the initial part of the question, in this case, the city of Houston only allows 27 dwelling units per acre. So in this case, I'm trying to pull up the drawing 1 second.
Well, while he's doing that, we definitely figured out the size to make sure you were meeting frontage requirements, and we tried to determine, based on what Chapter 42 says, if your options were going to be front-loading lots, which means you pull right in, or if you had the option to do what the city calls a shared driveway. So we just went through a few design options to just make sure you were meeting, like I said, frontage requirements and then the density requirements. And then, did you find your drawing, Carlos?
1 second.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
You're supposed to keep filibustering, Erica, until you just say,
look, I'm not good at that. Let me add some more stuff. But
put some gravy on that thing, sis.
I know, right?
It's downloading.
But yeah, just making sure you met the ordinance as far as setback requirements. So once we figured that out, and then we knew, once we got the number of how many actual lots you can do, then we knew we could probably further break that down. Because the lot was so big, we knew that we would probably be able to get a few more dwelling units than we anticipated. So we were able to get you up to 6 without breaking the bank.
And so, exactly. Now, so question for you is, and so those, so the shared driveway rules, setback rules, and things of that nature, based on that area, are pretty standard, right? Like, yes. I'm saying, based on whatever area it is. So generally, if it's 20 foot setback on this house here, 9 times out of 10 down the street, they're not going to let you do 10 feet, right? It's going to pretty much be standard for the area, right?
It's going to be standard. The city does have what they call a variance option. So a variance is asking for relief from what Chapter 42 requires. You do have to, I'd like to tell people, you have to plead your case as to why you're asking for an exception to the rule, but there are standard rules, but there are some situations where you are allowed to do something different.
Gotcha. So let's see this really cool worksheet, not worksheet, drawing that Carlos has pulled up.
So here we can actually see what the city calls the dwelling unit density table, in which you can see this land is 0.229 acres, and then by the maximum number of units would be 6 units. When you divide that by 6, you get 26.2 units per acre, which is the maximum. It's 27. If we jump into 7 units, it'll go over the 27 dwelling units. So that's why the maximum allowed in this case would be 6 units. But they allow 2 houses to be built in 1 lot. So that's what Tyrone decided to go with. This doesn't mean that he has to build a duplex in each lot. It just means that he has the option, client as a builder, that you can do 2. But if you only want to do 1, that'll be fine with the city as well.
Okay, great. So at this stage, we determined we can build 6 units, up to 6 units down there. Now this is where having vision come into play, because I had no intentions on doing 3 properties here from the outset. It was about building it as dense as possible and wanting to do duplexes on each lot that we ultimately got. So we figured out we could do 6 units, which equated down to these 3 lots. And then, so once we know that, what is the process you guys go through to get it from, yes, you can put 6 lots on here, excuse me, you can put 6 units on here, yes, you can do it, to, okay, here it is, it's done, here's the plat, and we're recording it. So what happens chronologically there?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're ready.
You're back.
The popo's gone now.
So they chasing you.
Something was going on right here. So after we put all this together, we submitted to the city, and Houston, it's a good change. It's a good opportunity. It only takes about 2 weeks after we submit it for them to approve it and review it. And after that, we address all the comments. We send it back to the client, and it takes about a week or 2. And then we just wait on the client for them to sign the project and then send it back to us. And then after that, we do an appointment with the city, and we make the plat a legal document once we go to the county clerk, and we take it back to the city for final review. So the process takes about a month to 2 months, depending on how fast it moves, but that's about usually the timeline. And that doesn't take into account, actually doing the survey and then just meeting with the client beforehand. So the project, just a very simple project, could take about 2 to 3 months.
One thing I want to say about that is, I remember the first time I started building, and if I talked to 5 guys, I got 5 different answers. And so one of the things I want people that are listening to this is, a lot of times people's answer, they're going to answer based on their skill level and expertise. So they're not going to answer to someone else's level because they're not engaging in their particular profession at that level of proficiency. Carlos is explaining to you guys how he did this in roughly 6 to 8 weeks, he and Erica, and I can tell you for sure, there are tons of other people that replat and survey that I've used and some I've never used, and they take way longer and cost more. So one of the reasons, or the primary reason, outside of them being great people, that I wanted them to be on this particular, I wanted you guys to have access to them, is because these guys are masters of their craft. And if you're around me a lot, I always say, when you find people that are masterful at what they do and love what they do, you hold on to them real tight and you pay them whatever it takes to have their services. And so, I just wanted to give you guys kudos again here, and really help the people understand that what you guys do, you're great at it. So there are going to be other people that will probably explain replatting to you, and it'll take them 15 minutes to explain what Carlos just did in 4 or 5 sentences, because that's how easy it is for him, because of the proficiency that they have. So Erica, is there anything you want to add to what just transpired there?
I was just thinking, I was going to start from the way beginning, from you call us and say, hey, I want a replat, just to kind of give a little bit of background as far as our timeline and kind of how we time everything out. You call us and say, I'm ready to replat. What do I need to send you? We ask for the address, obviously, and any other documents that you have, just so we can skim them. We let you know that we are not real estate attorneys, but we will look over any documentation you have. We typically do like a 30-minute to an hour free consultation, just to verify if you're in the floodplain, if we can find any other plats, just to kind of get a background for the area. If we're unfamiliar, if we don't see a lot of platting activity, we just kind of exhaust as much resource and research as we can before we actually, make the call to order the title report, the CPL, because that's a vital piece that's usually required for all plats. And it also kind of breaks down everything we need to know for that property. And then, order the survey work. So we always give ourselves about a good 7 to 10 days before submittal to make sure we have everything. So when it comes time to submit, we're ready and we have everything. Just a little bit more specific, Planning Commission or the City of Houston, they work on a 2-week cycle. So every other Thursday is Planning Commission. So those are the dates that we're constantly keeping in mind when you say, I have a replat. Well, you kind of caught us in the middle of a cycle. So it's going to be probably another
Right.
to us because we're in the middle of the cycle. So just those little things, we try to always be upfront, but I just wanted to add that to keep that in mind, that we kind of have our own timeline going based on what we know the planning department is operating on too.
If you already have a survey, do you guys, so if I have a survey that's less than a year old, do you guys still need another survey?
I will say yes and no. If you have a survey already, you can use that survey, but you have to call your surveyor and say, Erica and Carlos, they need you to sign the Mylar. They need you to print the Mylar. They need you to provide that CAD file so they can do their work to submit your plat. If not, then we have to do the surveying work.
Gotcha. And having dealt with many surveyors, they'll say, oh yeah, we'll do all of that for a fee that's probably equivalent to what you paid them for the first survey.
Yeah.
That happens.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So any closing, obviously I'm going to spend some definitely and walk more in detail. They'll get to see the project that you guys described and whatnot. So again, I appreciate you for your time. Any parting comments or statements you guys would like to make?
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to even let us share and impart our wisdom and expertise with your class. So thank you for that.
Most certainly.
I want to say thank you, and just it's a really good surprise to be sharing our knowledge. And we have 10 years of combined experience working in the city, and we're ready to take over Houston. That's all I want to say.
Yes.
Houston and other cities.
And surrounding areas. There you go.
Baltimore, Atlanta, Dallas.
Exactly. You just left California, so yeah. But thank you, guys. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Somebody trying to call me. But anyway, so thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thanks for the tacos as well, and we'll be in contact soon.
All righty. Have a good one.
Thank you. Go to class,
All right, Carlos.